sled, but it's designed to be very lightweight. It's just the dogs are so incredibly strong. They are capable of pulling very heavy weights. It's just not anything that we're really focused on. We're focused more on the endurance.
And there's no sledge, 12 dogs also?
It can be. It'll vary a little bit depending on what we're doing. I would say 12 dogs is definitely the most typical size team that I'll run in front of a sled. But when I'm racing, the races that I compete in actually have rules as to how many dogs I'm allowed to use. So most races will be 12, maybe 14 dogs. The Iditarod is the longest race in the world. That one's just over 1,000 miles long. They let us use 16 dogs. To give you a little idea, so 12 dogs pulling all this weight, my sled fully loaded with all my gear, plus me on the back, we're probably looking at about 300, 350 pounds. With 16 dogs rather than 12, it's a wild ride. When you hook 16 dogs through your sled, you better be ready to hang on.
How fast do you go?
Same exact speed we're doing out here.
Yeah, but I mean, with your racing sled, that's got to be like as fast as they can run, huh?
They definitely are capable of much higher speeds.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of do the training at this speed all summer long to get used to it, because I want them to
kind of be running
8 to 10 miles an hour when we're racing.
Kind of casuals, not too strong.
Yeah, it's basically we're marathon runners.
Marathon, not sprinters.
Not
yeah,
a sprinter.
got it.
Now there is sprint mushing with dog sledding. It's just not something I do much of. Not something that I'm really focused on. However, my wife ran a sprint race this last year with some of our young dogs. They were just way too energetic and wanted to run fast. So I was like, all right, let's go run a 10-mile race. And they were able to run, maintain about 18 miles an hour for 10 straight miles.
Wow. That's fast.
Ready? All right. Better get going before they start breaking everything. The dogs just kind of scream at me all day long. They're like, we don't want to be stopped anymore. Now they're yelling at each other. They're like, let's get going faster. Yeah, you tell them, Wesson. Now we gotta do a fun little U-turn with the dogs here. We're gonna see how professional the dogs act when we're on the corner. It's good practice doing this all summer long, because I've got good steering with this cart, so I can make sure, I mean, as long as you don't you trust my driving skills, we're not gonna run into any trees. In the wintertime, my sled doesn't steer quite as well, so we are kind of teaching the dogs to take corners wide so they don't run me into any trees.
That makes sense.
Yeah, just because we, the main purpose for us being here is to get you out and show you a demonstration of dog mushing. Doesn't mean we can't make it training. You know?
It's amazing.
Do they sometimes fight at us?
Oh, it's possible. It doesn't happen very often. Like, you will see them argue on occasion. You know, they're just kind of yelling at each other, like, hey, you work harder. Hey, get on your own side of the line. So, they'll argue a bit. It's like taking kids on a road trip. But it's pretty rare for them to actually, fight with one another. But it can happen. And so a lot of our training and our pairing of the dogs, their positions, will kind of revolve around, putting them in a situation where they're not going to be tempted to want to fight with one another. But thankfully, the dogs are really good-natured, so they're not really prone to want to fight with one another. They kind of understand that we're a team and we're supposed to work as a team. But also, it's like a bunch of children in school. They get along well 99% of the time, and then maybe someone stole another kid's lunch or something. And then it's dukes up. we had this little detour on our trail just so we can kind of keep the lead dogs listening.
Yeah.
They like having corners and good chance for them to, you know, stay on their toes as far as, hey, we know turn right and turn left.
They just like running in the water.
Oh yeah, you
Cooling
know,
off.
they're dogs. What are you gonna do? Oh.
How cute.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like any dog. They like splashing in the puddle too.
Oh yeah.
But I think I just saw one of them pee in it and then start drinking from it. I think what they try and do, they know this other team is coming up behind us, and they're like, "Hey, the water flows that way. Let's give them something to taste back there."
So when they're running, some run straight. There was the odd one running in the middle.
Yeah, it's not uncommon to see that where some of the dogs will have a pretty sideways gait while they're running. A lot of times we figure that's caused by them wanting to go faster than I'm allowing them to go.
Yeah.
And so by going a little bit sideways, it either makes them feel like they're running faster or pulling harder or something like that. But with those dogs that do run a little sideways, as you go farther and farther, they kind of settle in and become a little bit more uniform, so then they'll straighten out. But Sanford in the back on the right, he's the worst one. He runs very sideways. Yeah, you do definitely see that a lot in dogs that have really, really strong work ethics. They're like, come on, we gotta go faster. Yeah, so in the wintertime you won't see it as much, but in the summertime you see it a lot just because we're always going such short distances. They just don't have time to kind of settle down and get into their stride.
Do you find that your lead dogs are like the pack leaders of the pack too?
Not
they have
really, no.
No?
I mean, sometimes you will have dogs with more of that alpha personality that make good lead dogs.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of our two lead dogs up there, they're the most like mellow, easygoing dogs out there. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, they just kind of, some dogs understand that they get the added responsibility of being the ones in the front, and so I just have to try every single one of the dogs and just see how they react up there.
That's cool.
Sometimes when they're young, you can make guesses like, oh yeah, that one's real confident, I bet they'll be a great lead dog, and sometimes they don't. They're like, oh no, I'm just here to pull. Well, I would say that most of my best lead dogs have always been just like real gentle, easygoing dogs, and yeah, you wouldn't expect it. It's like, oh yeah, that one, you know, doesn't want to bother any of the other dogs, has great manners.
Nice.
And they do awesome. Now the dog that's right behind our lead dogs on the right, her name's Widow. She is just 2 years old. She's kind of, at this point, looks to be my most promising coming lead dog.
Nice.
She's doing amazing at it already. She does have a little bit of that more alpha personality. She's a little bit cocky and arrogant. And for her, it works. So she's super smart and she does awesome up there. But today, as we are training the dogs in the summertime, I'm basically trying to switch around their positions as much as I can every day. So from one day to the next, I run at a different spot, run with a different partner. And we kind of do that just to get them used to all the different positions and get to know each other dogs. You will get some dogs that have preferences as far as where they're at in the team, who their partner is. These two in the back, they're brothers, they're both 9 years old, and they can both run with pretty much any other dog, but they really like running with each other. So today we were like, all right, let's put the bros together again. Right, Sanford, and you're happy about it. He's like, yeah, now let's keep going. Are you guys about ready? All right.
That's amazing.
They're like, oh, better move. That team behind
That
us
is
is trying
so
to catch
neat.
us.
That is so
We'll get
neat.
him, Wesley. Sorry, I'm doing a good job of hitting every pothole out here. All the rain we get is not kind to gravel roads.
Nope.
We get to do a little strength training exercise with the dogs on the run, climbing back up our hill into our camp. This is actually really the only time the dogs have to work very hard. When we're on flat ground, they don't have a